Another journey, and today's guest is the owner and CEO of Wounded Eela LLC. Her mission in life is to help others improve quality of life no matter what age we are. She's been a licensed massage therapist for 19 years, a certified canine massage therapist for 8 years, fitness instructor for 45 plus individuals, and Zumba dance teaching for over 40 years. She's also an Amazon best-selling book co-author, as well as being an holistic life coach, motivational, inspirational speaker, educator, and volunteer. I let her talk about her journey because it's her journey, not mine, but I welcome Blanca Rodriguez to the journey.
Thank you so much for having me. What an honor this is, definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, I always like to hear people's journeys because everyone has a start, and the earliest memory is obviously you're born, and that's the earliest memory that most people remember, and then as you get older, it matures. But what was the earliest memory that started your inspiring journey in the way you feel that inspired you in the early days?
Well, definitely the earliest memories that I have of my childhood goes straight back to when I was a little girl living in New York City with my parents. I'm the youngest of three siblings, actually, and life was very happy when we were there. My father was a very hardworking person. We are from Puerto Rico, so he went to New York City in search for the American dream. This was back in the late 50s, early 60s, and his dream actually became a reality. So we were having a very healthy, abundant, prosperous life until his tragic passing when I was 8 years old. And life was never the same again, that is for sure. My mother, she fell into a very deep depression and she never recovered from it. We live in, it was like our world before my father's tragic passing and the world after his passing. And everything just became a very dark season that lasted a very long time because my mother was mentally ill for a very long time. We didn't even know this. She had chronic depression. She has frontotemporal dementia to this day, and she never took care of herself. It was the time when speaking about mental health and mental illnesses was total taboo. It was totally prohibited. I live in a world where everything it was about silence. Shh, you don't talk about the dead. Shh, you don't talk about mental illnesses. So I live in a very isolated, rejected, neglected, shameful world. And it was a very hard road to understand coming from a little girl that lost her favorite person in the world. And that took me into a downhill spiral of lots of low self-esteem, low self-worth, self-destructive patterns. I was living in a world of shame because I was sexually assaulted when I was 9 years old. So, and it was a very confusing, isolating many years of my life. And I decided to turn it around. And as I kept on growing older, and especially when I became a mother of two phenomenal human beings, I decided to really get out of that bubble, get out of my misery, get out of the pity party, and go and grow up, learn the lesson, and definitely take all of these terrible childhood trauma as fuel to enable me to help others improve their quality of life by saying anything about my story, where I have been through everything that it took me to get out of my comfort zone. And when I say comfort, it's not about being comfortable, it was about habit. And us human beings, we're beings of habit. And when those habits are built, they're really is a really tough thing to let go of that habit and build a new habit. And basing on my hard work and dedication to make my life better for myself, for my kids, for my family, but considering that I came first that until I got out of that horrible rabbit hole that I lived for so many years, everything else really did blossom. Everything else really did change for the better. And definitely, I always take all of these lessons that I learn about loss, mental illness, confusion, being in an unstable world to building more stability starting for myself. And when I talk about stability, is having a better quality of life and building upon that new foundation, because we are all capable of change no matter where we come from. So that is where I take all of these experiences that they were so difficult from an early age and turn them around into something that can really help others, because I know that there's a lot of people like me out there that they live in a world of silence, believing that nobody will listen, believing that nobody will give us any support. And that is totally untrue. Once I discovered support, mentorship, help, lots of help, counseling, group counseling, everything definitely changed for the better. And that is why I'm here today.
Yeah, and that's, shows the growth does happen because for so many people who are in that depression, so many people always say it's a dark spot, and some people always like to say, I can't get out of it. But there's always a way out of things, no matter how difficult it is. There's always either people there for you, there's things that will attract you to grab onto and seek that validation to say, yes, it's good, and that's
Absolutely.
helping me, and that's all part of the growing, I believe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Without a doubt. And with my story of so many things that happened in my past, it's a good time to turn it around, and instead being in grief and loss all the time, turn it around and create some empathy, compassion, and especially with my relationship with my mother, that I was so full of anger at her. I was angry at my father's passing, and I will always ask him, why do you leave me here with her? Why do you leave me here with her? And it just, I mean, when the decision comes from within, from the deepest of our heart, transformation really does follow. And my mother and I, we forgave each other many, many years ago. And I look at my mother with the eyes of compassion, empathy, love, because even though she was such a lost soul for her entire lifetime, she managed to really instill within us siblings respect for people, being hardworking people, and that I will always honor from her. And if there's something that she really did, and she does still to this day, being in advanced stages of dementia, is that she doesn't go out without a fight, and that is something that I really, really owe with to her specifically, because my father, unfortunately, he was gone way too soon when I was a little girl, but this spirit of never giving up, really going on, really keep on going, definitely I owe it to her, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, and you talk about the fight and determination in dementia. I've known from my personal experience about someone who had Parkinson's. He was
Hmm.
diagnosed in later life. I was only like 12 at the time, but it changed his lifestyle when he was my late grandfather. And I had to see
Yeah.
that. And because he was so elderly, I saw that progression happen so quickly. And when he passed away, I was there and I felt glad to be there. But at the same time, he was always determined no matter what. And towards the end, you saw the change in him. But at the same time, the last time I physically saw him sitting upright, he was in the back of an ambulance going to the hospital. And it wasn't anything looking like he was poorly. He was looking like he was going on a vacation because he was smiling
Right.
and laughing. And I said, "You want to get away from my nan?" And nan. And he said,
Hmm.
"No." I said, "I guess you are." But it shows
Sure.
he was
Hmm.
determined. And then next time I saw him after that, obviously he was in bed, sleeping. He wasn't gone, but he was just sleeping.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
he knew I was there. That's how I remember it. He knew I was there. So those
That's what matters.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and those memories
Definitely.
will always stay with me.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
so going into the present, and obviously you touched upon it, do you feel like it's made you a stronger person knowing what's happened in your life and what you've encountered?
Yes, absolutely. It has built a strength that I really didn't understand for a very long time. And when transformation happens from living in a world of being everybody's victim, and believing that everybody else is responsible for my poor decisions, for my actions throughout all of these decades and decades of self-destructive patterns and not really loving who I am, loving myself. Definitely when I make that shift from I'm everybody's victim to I'm responsible for my actions. The wounds are not my fault, but the healing is my responsibility. Definitely really good things just keep on happening in my life. And I'm very grateful for it every single day. And it's like this typical cliched question of, oh, if you could go back and change something, would you? It's like, no. The first thing that is that that's an impossible, that doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. It's a really poor fantasy that people may have. If you would go back, it's like, no, there's nothing to go back to because I was there already. And it's not about wanting to go back to nothing. It's about going forward and really, really embracing those changes and really embracing it in a way that you do every single day of your life because life is about progress, not perfection. And the more we embrace progress in our life, healing, because the healing that this will be for the rest of my life. I'll be in this healing journey, and I'm perfectly fine with it because we are humans. We're not supposed to be perfect. We're not supposed to be omnipotent. So I'm very grateful for all the changes, and I definitely will. The only way for me to look back at those times is to help others in being in that mindset. And yes, there are triggers that can come along the way, that do come along the way, actually, but it's about grabbing those tools and understanding that the past was the past. I'm in a safe place now, and no harm will come to me. And I base myself a lot on that when these few triggers come to revisit because it's unavoidable. It's unavoidable and it comes out of the blue for no reason at all. And just gotta be accepting of those triggers that they come, but they will pass. And it will pass because this too shall pass. So I base myself a lot on that. And I live a life that I really don't have to hide anything anymore. I don't really have, I'm not really living in the life of silence like I did for so many decades of my life. So I wake up grateful and I go to bed grateful every single day of my life because of that. There's no reason why to be in grief because I did that already for a very long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And finally, because I know we're keeping to the 15 minutes as much as possible.
Absolutely.
We started Wounded Ela. Can you tell us about that in case people want to get in contact with you?
Yes, absolutely. Under Wounded Healer LLC is my business, and under this umbrella, I offer services of massage therapy, canine massage therapy, holistic life coaching. I have a coach as well, and having a life coach is phenomenal. So not only I have a coach, but I'm a coach myself, a life coach. I'm a fitness instructor and speaker, educator, book co-author. So under Wounded Healer, all of these things comes into play, and I absolutely love what I do. And definitely, I am here to serve. I'm here to help. I'm in the category of yes, being a helper, yes, being a healer, and this is what we do: help others improve quality of life, no matter what age we are.
Yeah, and I believe the website is woundedela.us, correct?
Yes, yes. That
Okay.
is my website, www.woundedhealer.us. Call me, text me. I'm here to help.
Okay, and I'll make sure I put the link of that in the description
Of
afterwards.
course.
But one last ultimate question. What would you say to people watching or listening to this now to help them move in their journey?
What I would say is this: don't let your past define who you are. Learn from your lessons and try to move on in the best of your ability. Never give up and never go out without a fight. Life is about growth. Never forget that. And of course, embracing change because change is a constant.
Blanca, it's been a pleasure talking to you on the journey today.
Thank you so much, David, for having me.
Thank you.
The Journey podcast explores stories of personal growth, challenges, and life-changing moments. Each episode dives into unique experiences, offering insights and inspiration for listeners navigating their own paths. I believe everyone has a story worth sharing. If you'd like to share your journey with David and others, email your story to wisewords1983@reborn.com, and it may be featured in a future episode.